Conservationists. The main reason for this truce is money.
The Somerset Levels is one of the last great wetlands of Europe, offering a unique habitat for wildlife. Much of the land floods regularly during winter. In the mid-70s, conservationists began to sound alarm bells about the impact of intensive farming, particularly drainage, on wildlife. Government response has been to offer the ESA, or Environmentally Sensitive Area Scheme, which has 3 levels of payment for farming less intensively. Tier 1 pays between £120 and £190 per hectare, Tier 2 up to £250 per hectare, and Tier 3 up to £350 per hectare, depending on the level of farming operations. It's a voluntary system which pleases farmers like David Broomfield, who has much of his land under the Tier 3 scheme.
I'm not sentimental about conservation, but we like it, and we've got to face the basic fact that we have approximately 10% of land too much in production in this country at the moment. And this appears to me, and I gather the Minister, that this is a good way of storing land, really, because this could be soon reversed.
And how has it affected the way you farm those areas?
Well, we are really, production is now secondary to wildlife. So you've got to say that the bird life is more important than the farming.
Does it go against the grain after farming for 30 years and battling against the weeds to let it revert? Initially it did, yes. Having spent the majority of my farming life going for production and greater efficiency, to go for, to quote the current jargon, extensification, was quite an adjustment.
Although the scheme has been enthusiastically received, not every farmer endorses it. Stan Chedzoy is a milk producer and pig farmer who lives at West Sedgemoor and was one of the protesters who burnt the effigies 10 years ago.
For us, it would be no good at all because we couldn't make enough profit out of it. Because on dairy farming, we expect about 6 or 7 times that sort of income. Also, if we went into that ESA scheme, it means we'd have to make more men redundant.
What do you think of the ESA scheme in general, then?
If you lose the animals grazing on the lands, you then lose the fertilizer of those lands. If you lose the fertilizer of those lands, the humus dies, and therefore the worm population dies. And in the long term, I'm very afraid if you haven't got the worms, you haven't got the food for the birds.
The voluntary nature of the ESA scheme means the area is a mosaic of land with differing water levels. The difficult task of regulating the water belongs to the National Rivers Authority.
I would say the main problem that we've had with them is actually accommodating the requirements of those farmers who firstly want to come into raised water level schemes and those who wish to carry on with their other traditional land management practices in the sites of special scientific interest. The main problem there really is that we need to isolate the raised water level area to provide the wetness where it's wanted and to stop that water escaping into the other areas and causing unnecessary disadvantage to those farmers who aren't yet in a raised water level scheme.
Some people might say that you're actually going about this whole wetting up process too slowly.
Well, you're not going to see change overnight. In the 18 months since our strategy was launched, we've actually managed to implement 2.5 square miles of raised water level area in various sites dotted around the moors and levels. And if we were to go any faster than that, I think we wouldn't be implementing the most practical schemes, and we wouldn't be taking those all-important people, the landowners, along with us.
The ESA scheme has already had a marked impact on bird life. One of the leading conservation groups, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, feels the doom and gloom of the 70s and 80s has been replaced by confidence that bird numbers are increasing.
In winter, there are over 50,000 wildfowl and waders, which makes it a site of international importance. But nonetheless, even though there are fewer birds at this time of year, it's the assemblage of them that's particularly special. And I suppose most important are the 5 nesting wading birds. That's curlew, redshank, lapwing, snipe, and the rather unusual bird called a black-tailed.